So this happened about 3 years ago, but I still think is rather relevant to today's relationship climate. So I was seeing a lovely lady. We met through a dating application, and things were pretty good from the start. Like we were pretty much like, good morning, good night, and then constant texting in between sort of people. And then we finally met up, had drinks, sparks were lit, and then I thought, yeah, this is a pretty good situation for me. So I was rather committed, non-verbally, mind you, but I was committed. Like I was not going to see anyone else. This one person that I'm seeing is quite awesome, and I'm happy with that. So I'm hanging out with her and some friends of mine at my friend's house. And I refer to her as my girlfriend, and her head swivels directly at me. And she says, I'm your what? And I'm like, I'm your boyfriend, right? And she was like, well, we haven't had that talk yet. And I was like, oh, whatever. So we're just going to have a talk. And she's like, well, let's talk about it later. We're partying and hanging out. And I'm thinking, cool, this is going to be that typical, you know, are we official conversation, which I've had a couple of times. That's no problem whatsoever. The next day, she asked me, am I seeing anyone else? And I was like, no, of course not. Like, I'm pretty much like go to work. And then when I get done, I go hang out with you. And that's kind of like the end of my day. Like, that's kind of what I do. And, play video games and stuff on the side. But for the most part, that's what I was doing at the time. And I asked her, are you seeing anyone else? And she said, not really. And I asked, what does not really mean? And she said, well, there's this guy who lives in California. And I'm like, go on. He's like, well, he, has to come into this town for business trips every now and then. And I've known him for a few years. And I'm like, so it's a guy who you almost rarely see. And yet, when we're talking about a relationship, this is what you're bringing up. And she was like, well, I don't know. I feel like he might have, lots of potential and whatever. And I just want to keep my options open. But like, don't get me wrong. I'm definitely not talking to him or seeing him right now. And I'm kind of like, whatever, women and their stuff. And I kind of brush it to the side. A few weeks later, she sends me a text and she's like, hey, so I'm feeling like really bad, really crummy today. Like, I just kind of need like a no contact day to like get out of my funk. And I'm like, I'm respectable, especially of your personal space. So you can have it, not thinking about what she possibly could have been doing. Fast forward a couple weeks, I'm having a day that's not feeling especially awesome, like legitimately. Um, like I call into work that day and I'm like, look, I need a day to myself just to like rewind and like de-stress and stuff. And then she blew the crap out of my phone, like constant texts, constant calls, to the point that I just had to turn my phone off. And I was confused about why she was acting that way until I really thought about it. I was like, wait, what if on her crummy day, that dude was actually in town and she lied and just used that as an excuse to spend the whole day with him? And then when I said I need a day, she thought that I was cheating on her. So she flipped out. And once I realized that, I was like, yeah, we're done. Like, this is not how we're going to do this. Like, you can't allow yourself to do this. And then I cannot, even though I'm not even doing it. So, like, yeah, we're kaput. Bye bye. Note to hypergamy.